Good evening, everyone. Dave Hansen here with the Houston Electric Vehicle Association. We're glad to have everybody here. And it's a great day here, the 12th of September here in Houston. Nice after the heat of the summer weather and everything. Of course, one of the things of EVs that I and my wife like is that we can always run the air conditioner when somebody's waiting for the other person to come back to the car. You don't have to idle an engine. You just use a little bit of juice out of the battery and you stay nice and cool in the car while the other person's in a store or out somewhere, that kind of thing. So that's always a fun thing. So thanks again to the TXRX folks for letting us use this space here this evening. And we have something special here in the space that hopefully everybody will get a chance to go over and see. We've got Sheldon's Bug-Eyed Sprite, which is always a fun car to see that's been converted to electric. And then we have a car that was built to be electric, a vehicle that was built to be electric from the ground up. And it's all stainless steel and it's large in size. And that's Colin's Cybertruck. And thanks, Colin, and thanks, Sheldon, for bringing those vehicles so everybody can take a chance, take some time and stop out in the area just inside the big garage door and see those vehicles. In fact, I saw Sheldon with his head under the hood explaining parts of the conversion to another gentleman who was out there earlier as I came in. And so everybody gets real excited about EVs. Some other info about EVs is developments in the commercial world. So I stopped by this week at an Acura dealership, and they've got a couple of models that they've come out with, it's EVs that are in conjunction with GM. So kind of under the hood, it's a GM equipment, but very impressive technology. So I did a test drive around the block and accelerates very well with that full torque from 0 RPM. And so those, as everybody knows, we're brand agnostic here at the Houston Electric Vehicle Association. Different people have different brands of vehicles. And that brings me to, let's see if I share these slides. Okay, let me get to sharing here. And I can, then I can talk about some of the things we have coming up this week. And where's my sharing go to? Yeah. It's not at the bottom anymore. Okay, come on. Can you share the startup PowerPoint? Okay, because I just went to your online site and pulled it up. So I see it here in front of me. But yeah, so the items that we have coming up are events here in September. So this coming Saturday, for folks who are local in Houston, as you might have seen in the announcement that got emailed out to folks, we've got vehicles being shown at the Houston Botanic Garden, and that'll be from 9 to 12. And you can look up where that is. The street address is actually 1 Botanic Garden Drive. So it doesn't tell you where in Houston it is, but it's the southeast part of Houston. And they're having a special celebration out there this Saturday that'll go on pretty much all day. We'll have the vehicles there from 9 to 12. And again, Colin's Cybertruck will be out there, and Emma will be out there with her Hyundai Ioniq 5, along with her camping trailer. So folks that haven't seen that, that's always fun to see. And a couple of other vehicles. We've got Robert's Chevy Bolt. And so that's this coming Saturday. And then a week from this Saturday, over at the Houston Hobby Airport on the side of the 1940 Air Terminal, we've got the Wings and Wheels, which is always fun. So we'll have the vehicles right out in front, and then you can also visit the museum and visit the airplanes. And one of the unique things about the 1940 Air Terminal Museum is that you can get right out on the ramp and just look across the field and see the live flights taking off and landing. Okay. So, we were also interested in people knowing about other events around town and around the country. So the official Drive Electric Week is from September 27th through October 6th. And right now, we don't here in Houston have an event that falls in that time frame. But as I mentioned, we've got this coming Saturday, the 14th, and the following Saturday, the 21st. So we're beating everybody else. How about that? Yeah. So it's because of the partners that we want to partner with, and that's when their events are falling. So we'll see. We might have an event actually during that week. We'll let everybody know. IKEA this year declined to let us be out there during that time frame, so we won't do that. So, all right. And then the photo we've got, it's not the one right there, but slide number 3 has the Botanic Garden that I mentioned. At least for the set of slides as I got them off of the drive, but these might be a slightly different version. That's okay. Yeah, come on in. Sorry, we've made it a little difficult this time to find us, but it's good that you got in here. Nice to see you again. Yeah, yeah. And then also we've got yeah, the slide. Okay. Yeah, there we go. There's the Botanic Garden. All right. It's coming up this Saturday. And it won't be a large number of cars, so we're not asking for any more folks to bring vehicles to the Botanic Garden. But yeah, you can contact me directly with my email, which everyone should be getting the email from our official club email. Yeah, it shows up there. And then, so the next slide, where we are asking for more folks at the 1940 Air Terminal Museum. They have lots of space for a lot of vehicles. So anyone who's inclined to come on out and talk about their vehicle, please register for the 21st. And you can do that on the driveelectricweek.org website. So even though we're ahead of the official week, it is open now for us to use, and that is good for people to register at. So, oh, and yeah, the museum is really cool too. So yeah, if you haven't been inside that air terminal museum, just to see all the things that they have from the 1940 and onward time period, that's really fantastic. I mean, most people are just aware of the modern William P. Hobby terminal at Hobby Airport, but this old terminal is really nice to see everything inside, and you can go up to some of the upper outdoor levels and you get a good view from up there. So you can see a little bit in this photo here, how it has those upper levels, but that's really good. So you can use the website or contact us by email to register. And then some other events coming up in November. There's the Electrify Expo coming up in Austin. And some of us have been out to that, and that's a real fun thing to go out and see all kinds of electric vehicles, from electric bicycles, mopeds, motorcycles, small cars, big cars, trucks, boats. I don't know if they have any airplanes there yet, but we have the air terminal museum earlier. So that's coming up in November. And then we are always looking for more speakers, so if folks have stuff to go on. So after our main speaker tonight, our member John Atwood has got some hardware here and 15 photos that I've got ready to pull up. And so John will be telling us about the stuff he's got going on. We love hearing about what projects people are working on. Always open to discussion of where our Houston EVA should be going. And of course, you can email us with ideas, and we'd love to entertain them. And then, of course, joining the bigger association is always fun. In January, we have the big national meeting. Last 2 years, it's been out in California, hosted at the Aptera factory, and that's coming along. They are getting ready to build a new style of vehicle out there, a 3-wheeled solar-powered electric vehicle, and they want to produce them in big numbers so that a number of us can have an opportunity to have one. I know some folks here in town that have reserved them. I don't know if Shen is reserved one or not, but I know you've been involved with things for a long time. I haven't seen you. It's good to see you out here again. So that national meeting is something that you can either go to in person or Zoom into. And it's always good to know what's going on at other chapters around the country. And if you join that, you do have to pay the dues, but a portion of those dues do come back to our chapter here, which we don't charge any individuals dues for. So, and then the one sheet is available here in the room on paper, and it's available electronically if you want to talk to friends about what EVs are out there. It's a good source of information. It's something folks are constantly trying to keep up to date with because things like pricing and capabilities keeps on changing. And rebates, get information about rebates. Okay. And so I believe that's all the startup information that I wanted to cover. If there's any other time relevant questions for folks here at the beginning, or you can bring things up at the end. If not, Laurent, if you're ready, I will go ahead and introduce you. So Laurent Frugier is an IT engineer specializing in electricity. He is PMP certified and worked for the last 10 years as a consultant to the World Bank. So Fuel2Electric serves as the perfect intersection of Laurent's technical expertise, extensive project management experience, and his deep-rooted passion for cars. So a lot going on there. And he's in charge of that platform and operations. So I'd like to turn it over to you, Laurent, and if you can share your screen when you're ready to show your slides, that'd be great.
Awesome. Thank you very much for having me today. I'm sharing my screen right now. Can you see the presentation?
Yes, we have it in the room. Can other folks online see it?
Should be okay. So that is me. And my name is Laurent Frugier. I'm French, obviously. And I'm one of the 3 co-founders of Fuel2Electric. And you mentioned it. I have a background in IT and electricity. I worked in Europe, in Africa, in the US before starting Fuel2Electric. I'm not a mechanic, but I fall in love with cars all the time. I don't see that as a problem. My bank account says differently. It all started with the cars in my family, but what really ignited my passion was the fun and excitement I got from watching the American TV shows from the 70s and the 80s. And here is a bunch of them. At this time, I knew all the Porsches, the Ferraris, the Mercedes, the MGs, Auto Bianchis, but these American cars were something else. Growing up in France, I never saw them on the streets. So they felt like they were from a completely different world. That's until I traveled to the US at the age of 12, and it was fantastic. Just like a different world where cars were icons. In 2007, then, so 17 years ago, I landed a job in IT focusing on smart cities and transformation of city like Paris into eco-friendly all-electric city. That was a while ago. And at that time, I was working for Electricity of France, and I traveled in Europe and in the US. I contributed in reports and projects to work at modifying streets, modifying houses, parking, highways to prepare for a future where everyone drives electric cars. But then I thought, what's going to happen to all these cars that I love so much? I was really concerned about this. I saw the future of electric car coming, but I was worried about all these cars, all the cars that were already on the road. So I started researching the idea of transforming an old muscle car to electric. It was incredibly appealing, but technology wasn't there yet. Also, I realized it wasn't only about performance or giving a car a new lease on life, I realized how virtuous and sustainable EV conversion could be. So it leads us to some numbers here. I think you know most of them, but according to EPA.org, replacing your car with another gas car engine produces almost 400 grams of greenhouse gases per mile. Replacing it with a new EV car would reduce that number by a factor of 3. But if you compare this to EV conversion, it reduces this number by a factor of 10 because you reuse 90% of an existing car instead of building new seats, new frame, new body, new glasses, and still no tailpipe emissions. So to put things into perspective, converting 100 cars would save the weight equivalent in GHG of a Boeing 777 in the first year. That's a huge number. That's really impressive. So knowing all this, I shared my idea of developing a business around EV conversion with my brother Arnaud here on the picture and his father-in-law John. And we bought this 66 Mustang. We decided to design the complete setup and find someone to build it. And that's really when we realized EV conversion is a jungle. Really not that complicated, but so many resources available. And technology has evolved rapidly over the last 10 years. Even an untrained eye understands there's a huge gap between the two cars here, the pictures I have on the slides, the huge gap between DIY build from 2012 and a plug-and-play kit from this year. On the left, there is a DC motor, 32 horsepower, lithium, iron, phosphate, batteries. I think this one, it's a 34.5 kilowatt hour, 100 miles on the charge. It's not that much. And on the right, it's a new kit from one of the professionals within our network. It's called the APP-EV. It's a plug-and-play system. The average installation time for this kit is 3 days, only 3 days. It's not invasive. It's reversible, so you can go back to a gas engine if you want. I've never heard of that, someone reversing the EV conversion, but well, if you want, you can. The battery pack is made of fire-retardant glass fiber, impact-resistant Kevlar. It's way different from the existent battery box on the left. And in this kind of kits, all system parameters are pre-programmed and controlled by the vehicle control units to ensure the maximum performance and also the battery longevity, which is key for EV conversion or EV cars in general. We know the motors are really strong, but batteries is the weak link. Clearly, the technology is now mature. Unfortunately, we would Google, watch YouTube videos. We would send out tons of emails, reaching out to basically everybody we could find and asking questions. But in return, we would receive even more questions because you would ask about how much power do you think? Let's say we would ask a question about the motor, and someone else would ask question about our expectations or the type of the car or the way we're going to use it. Is it a grocery getter or a highway car? So the problem we faced was not about the technology anymore. We were missing someone we could connect us with the right expert because we were not DIYers. We were looking for someone to perform the conversion for us, which is a big difference. That's how we realized what the problem of EV conversion is. It's proved to be very complicated to connect experts and shop with the EV conversion enthusiasts. And these folks in the shops, they are super busy. They don't have time to educate individual project owners. And we realized that there was a link missing between the car enthusiasts or the fleet managers and the experts of EV conversion. And that's really when we decided to create Fuel2Electric. And Fuel2Electric is basically an internet platform. I told you my background is IT. And that platform solves exactly the problem we encountered. Our objective with Fuel2Electric is to help everybody in the automotive industry and anyone to convert their vehicle to electric. And now people call us the Airbnb of EV conversion, just because it's easier to understand. You want to convert your car, you don't know who to talk to. Just go on the website, fill up the intro form, and we start discussing your project and deciding whether it's realistic or not. So we have this it's called the reverse marketplace, where everyone can submit their EV conversion project once instead of talking about the same project again and again to all the shops they know. And in return, they receive quotes from the Fuel2Electric network, which today is composed of over 80 vendors. So that's very efficient. So far, the average is 3 to 4 quotes every time you submit your project. So it gives you it's a fast way to know if your project is realistic in terms of constraints, requirements, and budget, but also you get formal quotes from professionals that we have selected. So it's way faster than before. How it works: we assess the project, we feature the realistic project on the platform, and we match them with the builders. It's very convenient. One of the last projects we had on the platform found the shop 4 weeks after answering our online questionnaire. And now the car is being converted as we speak. It's in the shop. And sometimes they also include paint job, like full resto modes. We have a fleet of 11 cars in the pipelines. So it's very, we have a very large range of cars and projects, from pre-war cars to really post 2000 cars. That includes airbags, electronics, safety features, very complicated builds. So in the end, this is how our website looks like. We built it for all the EV conversion enthusiasts. We have the My Electric conversion project really accessible on the homepage. A list of projects that we feature, the store where you can buy components and kits, and systems. So systems are even better than kits. They are pre-configured. So it's really plug and play instead of kits. And the network, obviously, the map of the USA and Canada. We also have new vendors in UK and soon in Australia too. We see the community grow very fast. And in the more section, there is also a lot of insights. We have kind of a blog where we explain, we try to stay agnostic in terms of technology. You said you want to stay brand agnostic. We want to stay technology agnostic. It's easier for us to talk with clients about their expectations in terms of usage, in terms of range, in terms of power. And we keep the complexity and intricacy of the technology to the vendors. They are the experts and they master their work. So we don't step on their toes. And yeah, definitely our priority now is working with shop is safety. So we expect the shops to be trained. We check their certifications and also insured. so there is no problem. Once the car or the vehicle, let's say, can be truck, can be vans, can be buses. Once it is on the road, it's under warranty, service is covered, and insurance does not become an issue down the road. And yeah, that's about me. That's about the company. That's about the project that we've designed and made happen the last 2 years. And now, if you have questions, I'll be happy to answer those.
That's super, Laurent, hearing all the good stuff that you and your brother and everybody else has worked out. So as I mentioned, we've got Sheldon's Bug-Eyed Sprite out here in the lobby area. That's a conversion. And I believe, Sheldon, you had said it had been started and then you took it over. You want to tell us something about that while folks think about questions for Laurent?
So 2008, during one of our recessions here, I decided to start out on a project, and I had picked a different architecture. I'd picked a Chevy S10 with a great big DC motor and a particular controller and a particular charger, and I totaled up all the parts, and it was going to be about $25K worth of parts, which I decided was more than what I wanted to spend on a science fair project in a recession. So I put that on the shelf. But then not long after that, the recession didn't end the world. I still had my job, and somebody drew my attention to a vehicle that was for sale here in the Houston area that was a little British car, and I already liked the little British cars. I have MGs, had for a while, and same motor, not just the same design, but the same motor, same controller, same charger, same everything that I had planned for the S10. And so I already knew what the electronics and the battery were worth, and came to an agreement with the owner for basically the price of the electronics pre-assembled in a little bitty car. And, I later, made a number of mechanical modifications after that, but the big change more recently was 2017 when the car went underwater with Harvey. So I got to remake all of that stuff, and this time, you can buy used Tesla batteries for cheap, and the same controller is still available. The motor got wet, but that's fine. So I'm using a new modern, lithium battery management system and a split pack. So I've got part of the battery is in the rear, over the rear axle, part of the battery is in the front, where the engine used to be. And it's a lot of fun. It probably looks more like what the gentleman described as the 10 years ago technology with, I have about 30 kilowatt hour battery pack in there with around 120-mile range if I really baby it those last 20 miles. But it's fun. It's fun, and I've learned a lot doing it. So.
Good. Yeah, that's great. You remind me of my first EV. I had a Dodge Omni that was converted by Jet Industries. Okay. And it had some of the batteries in the front and some in the back, and they were lead acid and didn't have much range, but
there's fun. A bunch of fun that happens when you have a split pack, right? There's a lot more cabling, and in this case, there's water cooling, so there's manifolds and lots of tubing all over the place. That's yeah. I might my next project might be a little bit bigger vehicle so that I don't have that same challenge. But
right.
It's been a lot of fun.
Okay, well, good. So thanks a lot, Sheldon. And so folks have some questions for Laurent. So John, yeah, come on up to the microphone.
Hey, Laurent. The concept sounds really great. I think we're all interested in seeing a little more. Do you have the ability to show us some vehicles that are in your pipeline, or a test vehicle, kind of like if I was a user and I wanted to put a vehicle into your system and then kind of see how all that process works?
Yeah, I can show you I can share my screen. I have
Okay.
one here. Yeah, let's do that. Can you see it now? So this is the. Can you see my screen right now?
We're
You see the
seeing your screen, it's still showing the web page. Ah, it's changing
Yeah,
now. There
yeah,
it is.
exactly. So I'm on the wait page right now.
Yeah.
So here, just for the process first, this is where it starts. So we have this introduction form where you can put your vehicles, year, make, model, and this is just to say hi. So we understand who you are, what kind of car you have. Do you want to convert yourself? Are you a DIYer, or we call them DIFMers, do it for me-ers? Do you want to convert it yourself? No, I don't want to convert it myself. Do you want the car to be less powerful than today, as powerful than today, a bit more powerful, 2 times or insanely more powerful? Do this. If you have a budget in mind, it's even better. EV conversion is costly, even more when you want someone else to do it for you. It's a matter of time. If you have a lot of time, you'll spend time learning. Testing, not really, because high voltage is not something that you want to test. It hurts, it kills. So you don't want to play too much. Training is very important. Safety is priority number 1 again. And then we can, you put your name. So let's say my name is Laurent. And here I am. I have no idea whose phone number this is. And you can also schedule an appointment with us. From there, it opens a conversation. So we're gonna talk, we're gonna send you more questions about basically the whole project. Is it your car? How do you want to use it? Once we do understand each other, we have a bigger questionnaire that really asks everything, all the details about the condition of the car, which is very important. Rust is not a friend of EV conversion or any restoration. So restoration work is very complicated, especially if you don't want to do it yourself. It's going to be very expensive because shops, they want to see the car, they want to inspect the chassis, and even when they know the car, they find rust here and there. Moving on with the project. So let's say rust is definitely not a good friend of EV conversion shops. Condition of the car, again, requirements, how much horsepower you have. Do you have a preference for a motor? Do you want your car to become a Tesla car? We also have vendors that provide those capabilities, providing platform, a rolling chassis with all the batteries and the motor included in the chassis. So you just drop the car on the top of it. This is the best for weight distribution. We talked about just before, the 2 packs, one on the front, one at the rear. It's very important that weight distribution in the car is good, so you keep really good sensation while driving it. So there is a wide range of possibilities. So we have the questionnaire. This questionnaire I was talking about is 70 questions long about the car, the condition, your expectation, your constraints, and budget as part of it. So once we've done this, yeah, do you have a question? Oh. oh, is it me? I heard myself. Okay, that's an echo. Once we make sure that the project is realistic, then we write a project page just like this one. We have many more here. Let's take this one. This one is a fun project. The Cadillac, the 59 Cadillac Fleetwood. It's a project from a university. And they contacted us because they need a kit, just a kit. And so this is what we do. Once we understand everything from the project owner, we describe the project, and this is the page that we send, that we advertise within our network of experts. And in return, they submit proposals. So this one, for instance, received 2 proposals. We can look at other. This tiny one is in New Zealand. That's an interesting one. We can look at this suburban. He received 4. So this one is a full restoration. Plus, he wants the Tesla platform. So basically, from the inside, you will think, without noticing that the exhaust pipe is not here anymore, you would think that it's the original sub. But in the inside, it's going to be power steering. It's going to be AC. It's going to be probably around 350 horsepower. Center of gravity very low. Probably around 350 miles of range. So it's a very, very different car in the end. I can show you some others. Another university here. This one is in Canada. It's a cool one as well. Very tiny car, and probably a starter kit for this one. It's a very light car and also small. The engine bay is not that big, and the back, you want to keep some room in the trunk. So yeah, that's the way we work. I think I answered your question about the process. So the process is on the homepage. We get in touch, we discuss. You can schedule an appointment. We also can talk about your project. Then there is an extensive 70 questions asked, and once we agree about the feasibility, the realism of your project, we publish this page to our network of vendors, and in return, the project owner receives proposals. Then there is also, we organize Q&A sessions between the project owner and the experts, and we try to help them understand their options so they can make a wise choice between their the different proposals they received. After that, we follow up with the shop, and we make sure that the vehicle hits the road accordingly. Did I answer the question? Maybe I lost myself. Maybe I lost myself. I explained too much.
He's coming back to the microphone.
Yeah, no,
Okay.
that's great. Yeah, you answered all the questions. This is what I wanted to see because I don't think you can see this page unless you sign in correctly, right?
Exactly. You need to
Great.
you need to be part of the community somehow. So you need to log in to access this page. Otherwise, you have access to all of the resources, education and training. We have a lot of partners we work with. It can be virtual, it can be on hands. So this one is past, but we have also EV 101 sessions. There is a map also of all the vendors in orange, and in yellow all the training facilities. And yeah, and more resources here in the insights section. It's a big blog basically, and you can search your questions here. But we have a lot of articles about benefits of EV conversion, wiring tips, 3D scan. It's very important. More and more, we ask our professionals, instead of figuring things out on new models and trying to place all the components one by one, what we do is that we 3D scan the whole chassis and all, and the whole car basically, and all the components. So you can play on your computer with the placement. You can simulate the weight distribution. You can simulate the range. You can. There is many options with 3D scanning and CAD design that really helps in placing your components and do simulations. So that's some of the articles we have. Space constraints.
Yeah, that's great. And so these are public, basically. You just have to create an account and the public can see these.
Oh yeah, this one, everything is free. Even if you sign up for a project, we work for you, but mostly we connect you with the shops, and the shops is our final customer, because they pay us to find new customers, because they don't want to spend time answering their phone, answering emails. So we do that for them. So when we find a good customer and we close a deal with them, they pay us a fee on the top of it. So everything on the platform is free for customers. The only thing that is accessible with a login is the project section. Besides the project section, you have access to everything.
Okay, yeah, that also answered another question, because I was curious how you guys made money. But yeah, it's on the
Everybody's curious about it because it's free. From the project owner's point of view, it's free. So we talk, we spend time together, identifying, and without these stupid projects that everybody, all these shops, they receive hundreds of emails every week asking for a conversion of, let's say, a Chevy S10, we talked about it earlier, with a range of 300 miles and a budget of $5,000. So we do take time we educate people and say, you know what, for your Chevy S10, it's not going to be 5K. It's going to be more about 25, 30K. Do you want to talk more about it? Or we are done. And this is what we do every day.
Yeah, that makes sense. And like even the shop giving a customer a proposal, the proposals are included in this system.
Yes, exactly. So once we publish your project, you have different access as a customer on the platform. We call them the project owners. You have access to another side of the website, which gives you access to your project page, but also all the proposals. You can send messages to the experts and interact with them.
So actually, I have a question. It looked like one of the images when you were sliding past showed a convertible. So older.
It cuts. I'm losing. I can't hear you anymore.
So imagine you pay attention and reinforce the floor to be able to hold the weight of the batteries and motor and everything?
Yeah, that's part of the design.
Okay,
Obviously, so what we make sure is, well, it's about steering, it's about braking. You have to
Important.
stop. Steering stop. So remember the question we asked on the introduction form is, do you want the car to be as powerful as today? If it's as powerful as today, then you don't have to change much. But if you want the car to be insanely more powerful than today, we're talking about big upgrade from the chassis point of view, from the brakes, from the suspension. So that's how also we don't ask questions just to ask questions. One of the main goal is to make sure that expectations they match the kind of car, the budget, and the experience we have with all the projects that we've done. So it's not a crazy. Obviously, we have crazy projects, and some of the projects are not available online because we've signed NDAs with the owners. So they are private projects. They are not featured on the website.
Mhm.
They are crazy,
Yeah.
but they are super expensive too. Most of the people we talk to are really car lovers. They usually own a Tesla, and they have a classic in the garage, and they say, you know what, this one, I never use it. It would be so simple, so efficient, so convenient to have the same car but electric. And this is where our niche is in terms of business.
Laurent, we get lots of inquiries from people who say, I want to convert my car. It costs $5,000 and takes a week. And so I'm assuming that a lot of your job is to filter the applicants for this.
Yes.
Mhm.
Yeah, definitely. The percentage of people that we reject, if I can use that word, is the majority. And
By far.
the majority of the projects we received are rejected
Mhm.
for many reasons. It could be the condition of the car, it could be the budget, it could be the range, could be many reasons.
Okay, and I see that Robert in the chat has written down a question. I don't know if Laurent, you're able to see the chat. He's
What
written,
are the
what are
challenges?
what are
Yeah.
the challenges of fitting a vehicle designed for an ICE engine being converted to an EV? Many of the older 1970 vehicles and beyond have more steel than more recent ones.
Yeah. So weight used to be a problem. When Robert talks about steel, I hear weight of the car. But now all the motors available are very powerful, so you can move literally anything. Army truck are converted. You can put a motor on every axle. The main challenge is, so I think there's a blog about it, so I'm gonna redirect Robert to the website. The placement of components is the number one challenge. Weight distribution, transmission sometime, the differential ratio, the placement. Some people like us, for the Mustang, we decided to keep the manual transmission because we wanted the car to look exactly the same from the inside and the outside. So we didn't want like push start button, or LED screens and stuff like that. So we kept the transmission, so it looks really good. We won a prize actually for the interior of this car at the Electrify Expo in Denver a few months ago.
That works real well to keep the transmission. I mentioned my first EV was the Dodge Omni converted by Jet Industries, and they kept the manual transmission. I just drove it in second gear all the time and ignored the clutch. Yeah.
Yeah, you can also switch to third when on the highway, so it gives you a different ratio.
Yeah.
So the challenges are mainly about the placement of components, weight distribution, I would say. The most complicated project is hybrid. We don't do hybrid because it requires expertise on ICE engine and expertise on high voltage setups. So it's the worst of both worlds, if you want. You need to keep the gas tank, but you also need a battery pack. You have an ICE engine, gas engine, but you need an electric engine. So that would be the most challenging. Now, yeah, again, weight distribution, placement of components, and wiring is now it's getting more and more easy, because some vendors now, they sell junction box. Most of the time, the 12 volt system and harness remain. So you just install the high voltage and you connect the 12 volt system to the high voltage system. So there is not, it's not that complicated once you understand how it works. And yeah, that's about it.
Okay. Any other folks online have questions that you either want to put in the chat or just ask Laurent right now? I mean, it's great to get more and more of these classic cars converted so we can just drive them not only in parades and such, but just drive them around as everyday cars if that's applicable.
Yeah, the idea, and this is the return of experience, is that once you convert it, it becomes a daily driver. There is no more smoke, no more leaks, no more smell. We have project owners. They called us saying, we have a Tesla. We also have a Defender. But the kids, they don't want to go back to the Defender because it smells. So let's convert it, because if the kids don't want to use it, then nobody's going to use it. And that's how some of these stories start.
Yeah. Yeah. My wife can't stand the smell of gasoline. She doesn't want to get anywhere near it. So it's one of those things, you start driving electric and yeah, you don't want to go back.
We had this guy calling us. He prepared a full resto mode, a Mustang, and he prepared it with a shop, and out of the shop, it was a present for his wife. It was a 500 horsepower, crazy build. And he called me and he said, "No, my wife doesn't want to drive it anymore. It makes too much noise." So we need to find a way to solve that issue. But she wants to keep so it would be like a V6 tiny engine that you would put in it, and it's not too noisy, or electric. And he went electric in the end.
Very good. Okay. So I encourage everybody to go to his site and do the login and such. And we appreciate hearing, and we'd love to have you back every month just to, attend our meetings, because ever since the pandemic, we've been hybrid. So we were only Zoom during the pandemic. And then afterwards, it's like, well, gee, we opened up a whole new world of folks. A certain number of people, of course, we encourage people to come here to TXRX, but we understand there's people who you can be traveling or need to watch the video afterwards or something. But yeah, being hybrid means wherever you're at in the world, if you have an internet connection, we're certainly love to have you take part in our monthly meetings here. For those that don't know, it's every month of the year except December when we have a social where we ask folks to bring their family members and we meet up at a restaurant. So December is the only month that we don't have the second Thursday meeting. And of course, we have all the special events that we mentioned coming up here, especially in September. So, well, good. This is exciting. I'm so glad that we've connected up with you. I mean, you need to get the word out, and hopefully through organizations like ours. I mean, we're just one chapter in one part of the U.S., but we love spreading the word when we hear about efforts like yours.
Yeah, I'm trying to send our newsletter. We have a newsletter every Thursday. We try to send to all the chapters, the EVA chapters. And it's good to have good feedback, like the one we got from you. There is already a few chapters that are involved in EV conversion, the same presentation, answered those questions. It's always good to talk to people and explain what it is and explain that it's available, it's reliable. There is people out there doing it every day, and it's not only about technology. It's about the pleasure of driving those cars instead of keeping them hidden.
Yeah. So, and in fact, thinking about it, if you want to address specific geographic areas in the US and Canada, you can go to the overall EVA website, and our chapter and all the other chapters and the contact information for them are there. So you can also reach out to chapters if you wanted to address folks in a particular geographical area. So just an idea for you, but thanks so much for explaining all this, and you're welcome to stay on. We're going to shift over to John Atwood. He's got some photos and things to tell us about work that he's doing. So come on up, John. Okay, thanks, Lauren. I was just going to say time to stop sharing. Yeah. And let's see if I can share my screen. I should be able to pull up my folder of photos that John sent me. Well, he's going to want to show, yeah.
I'll show it at the end.
Okay.
And move the camera.
It's gonna move. Yeah. He's got to remember over there.
Well, I thought you'd grab one of those mics, but
And you're gonna click the button?
yeah, I'll switch photos and such. Yeah.
How about this guy?
Yeah, there you go. Okay, so, yeah, went past the speaker, but you're kept going, so that's good.
Quickly pass. All right. My name is John Atwood, and I'm going to talk a little bit about my EV conversion. I just have a short update. So I did one EV conversion myself already, and I'm currently working on a larger one. I'm doing a mid-sized pickup truck. And, I want it to be, bigger, better, faster, all those things, right? More range, everything. And, so I am doing a dual motor with it's all Tesla components. And, so I already put a motor in the front, and I put a battery underneath the, in between the frame rails, towards the, the cab of it. And then right now I'm currently working on the rear axle, the rear motor. So these are some pictures that I have to kind of just show my progress and what I've been doing for the last month.
And of course, my computer just froze up. My cursor won't even move right now. So
Yeah.
I've got the thumb drive here. Yeah. computer's been running and
Okay.
cooking the whole meeting here, so it's quite warm on the bottom. So I think it's objecting to move the cursor across
right.
the screen right now.
Yeah.
You can do the one that says show. Yeah, you can start with the first one. Oh, and you know what? I'm totally blocking the projector. Standing in front of the projector. So anyway, this is the rear motor. So I bought a motor this last month, so that's progress, right? Yeah, it's a rear small drive unit. So I have two small drive units. So it's basically the non-performance drivetrain from a Model S. So you can go to the next picture. Oh, you got to share.
Yeah, finally my computer started responding, so I did stop share because I could see you were accessing the photos. So you can hopefully do a share now, Colin.
Yeah.
All right,
Okay.
now you guys online can see a dirty motor out of a Tesla. All right. Okay, so I bought this guy on eBay, which is where you buy it. And so this is the next picture. This is an example of what I'm doing. So I'm doing the rear axle, and so I stole this idea from multiple people, and this is somebody who's been working on it, who has a YouTube channel. And so you can see what I've done here. Well, what I'm going to do, because this isn't mine, but this is a D-Dion axle where you basically get rid of a straight axle or a live axle, and you turn it into a dead axle. So what makes it dead is because the steel in between the drive unit is the axle, and it's only supporting the vehicle. It's not providing any of the power. And so the power is coming from the drive unit in the middle with CV axles. So it's not an independent suspension, but you still have CV axles because the suspension will move up and down independent of the drive unit, which would be mounted to the vehicle frame. So it's another way of doing a suspension for an EV. It's pretty, I would say it's popular for EVs. You can go to the next picture. This is another person who has a YouTube channel that's doing the same. And actually saw this vehicle in San Diego. He finished this and took it to the fully charged there. I think this was last year, the year before. Anyway, but you can see how the axle is sitting on the leaf springs, and this example doesn't have a motor in the middle. You can go to the next picture. So this is what I've been doing. I've been designing the last month. I've taught myself how to use a Fusion 360, which is a 3D modeling program. And this is the drawing part of that program where you model it in 3D, and then you export it like this and put all the dimensions on it. So it's a 2D showing of all the dimensions that I'm trying to do. You go to the next picture. This is kind of like where I started, right? So this is like Fusion, and you make a bunch of shapes, 2D, and then you extrude them into a 3D space. Go to the next picture. So this is when I made it into the 3D space. So you can go to the next picture. You can see I'm playing with what it looks like, the orientation. Those giant tubes that are sticking out in the front and the back, that's the current shock absorbers. And you can see the one on the top is actually going through the axle, and that's not where I want it. So this, by modeling in 3D, kind of like what Laurent was talking about, 3D scanning the whole car and bringing it into a modeling software, you can kind of see what's going on and fiddle with it and see what's going to work for you. So I'm going to relocate the shock absorbers. So you can go to the next picture. You can see the beautiful symmetry here. Next picture. Yeah, so next one. So this is another piece I did. So that was the axle. And then I've also been designing, well, how will the hub fit to the axle? The wheel bolts to the hub. And then of course, brakes are part of that situation. So all this has to be kind of redesigned. And so I created this spacer because I wanted to reuse the factory bracket that the brake caliper bolts to. So I needed to space it away from the hub a certain distance. And then I want it to be hub centric and all that stuff. So I designed this in 3D, and then I printed it on my 3D printer here to make sure it would fit. And then I'm going to show you how I also have it in metal now. Pretty sweet. You can go to the next picture. This is another thing I made. This is the hub will actually sit inside of this, and this will be welded to the end of the axle. So this is kind of what's supporting the wheels here. And so this is just another example of an item I made that I also had made in steel. So you can go to the next slide. And then there I am making holes and drilling out the plate because I needed to make new holes in the brake caliper bracket plate. That's fun. That's what I do for fun. I can go to the next picture. Okay, so this is another thing. I bought this and it wasn't terribly expensive. What this is this is part of the CV axle assembly. So in kind of the second picture that I showed you of that Tesla motor, you don't have to go back to that picture, but there was some CV axles kind of laying there. Well, what I'm doing is I have this adapter here that goes into the Tesla transmission, the reduction transmission. And so what this does is it adapts it to a Porsche 930 axle. So it's kind of a piecemeal, off-the-shelf kind of axle conversion for your CVs, your CV joints. So you buy this, and then you have to buy another adapter for the hub, and then you just buy an axle that fits that length in between them. So you can go to the next picture. These are just more pictures of this because it was expensive, and I want to take a picture of it because I had to buy it. And go to the next picture. You can't really see, but it's kind of a cup shape there. So is there another picture? No, okay, yeah. So those are my pictures. And then the next thing I was going to show was the parts that I got. So can they see me on this camera?
Yeah.
Actually, if I put it here, that might are you sure they can see me? Man. Oh yeah, I'm up
So
there.
I'm seeing it on my computer screen.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
Okay, there we go. Room
So
three.
this is the one that I made. This is the spacer. So I made this in plastic. And this is the bracket for the brake caliper that I wanted to reuse that I beat off of my old vehicle. And then this is the part that I had done out of steel. So this is that same part out of steel. And so I took that 3D model, and there's companies that will take your 3D model and make this if you pay them. You pay them enough. Yeah, they'll cut this CNC for you. So obviously I chose the Chinese one because of price, and that includes more time, right? Because not local. Yeah, it's on the slow boat, but they got this to me in 2 weeks. And obviously I bought two, one for each wheel. So I thought it was amazing. The finish on this is incredible. And just the fit is just, really awesome. So here's one of my hubs. that I bought. And so this is actually a front hub off the same vehicle. This is a brand new hub, right? I didn't make this, I just bought it. But the fit on this guy, I was so worried, right? Because I'm over here doing this with a caliper, and it's like it's not press, but it's like not gonna be able to do it with one hand, but it just like barely fits on this thing, and it has like almost no slop in it, which is why it's so hard to get on there. Boom. See, there's like very little slop in it. I was like, man, I'm so good. So, I mean, but it's really them, right? Because they were able to do it to the tolerances that I wanted. So I was really impressed with that. Oh, thank you for asking. That's another thing. Because as I looked, right, you can choose all these different materials, aluminum, steel, carbon, and I really wanted steel because this is like the weight, the wheel, this is gonna be hub centric, so the weight of the wheels will be here and stuff. I was gonna make this out of aluminum just because of cost, but this company, this is actually Moly steel, so it's like 4130 steel. So it's not just regular mild steel, and these were like $150 each, which was a really good price, actually, because I was gonna pay that for aluminum on another company. So I was really happy about this one. Is also steel. This is from Sen Cut Sen. So I don't know if anyone's familiar with Sen Cut Sen, but this is laser cut. So this isn't CNC, it's laser cut. So it's a little more rough, but it didn't need to be so exact as this one. And this is basically welded to the end of my axle, and this interfaces into it like that. So this is an extra. This is so cheap I could buy extras. So, and this is 1/2 inch steel. And so like this was like $30. And so like for a 1/2 inch steel a block that's laser cut, I thought that was pretty good. So anyway, it all fits together like it's supposed to fit together. I'm pretty happy about that. That's it. That's my update. Oh, and then I guess there's one more thing. So the axle itself that I showed, that's 1/4 inch steel. And so I'm having a fabricator at TXRX help me out. And I'm obviously paying him, and he's going to put it together based on these specifications that I have. And I tried to cut it, and it's like you have to have a saw that's made for cutting through like a 3x3 1/4 inch piece of steel. Because I tried like if you just use your hand grinder, it's not going to be straight. And I want the stuff to be like straight and true and all that stuff because it's suspension. So anyway, in a few weeks, I'll be able to show that as well. Bill. You're talking about the mounting of the motor itself? Keeps the motor from reacting. Yeah, the motor has 3 mounts. It's 2 mounts, one in the front, one in the back, and then one on the side. That's what you're talking about, the one on the side, I think. Well, there's like the CB axles. Posts that stick into the end of that motor with this spin. It's got CB axle. It's the second picture. So what is it? Yeah, that picture. You know,
The aluminum part of the house.
Talking about this right here? Or like this right here? This, I think this is just a piece of metal propping it up. But you're talking about like this?
Not for that frame. So this whole thing, the motor is not unsprung weight. The only unsprung
Right.
weight
Right. Motor is mounted to the frame, which is not, it is sprung weight, and the axle is the only unsprung weight. True. Yeah, they're not connected, only by the CB axles. Yep. Any more questions about my amazing project? Yes, I did very much attempt to keep the same wheel spacing. Even though everyone thinks it looks cool when you push your wheels outside the fenders on a pickup truck. But you know, I wanted to keep things factory. So if I do modify it in any way, then I'm not having to go backwards on it, you know, like it's, yeah. Yeah. Same geometry here. And I think that's kind of like what Laurent was talking about is like, you know, kind of using kits or trying to keep things as factory as possible, you know, is really the best way. Because you start modifying everything, it's like a wild thing that just takes so much more time and money. You're fabricating everything from scratch, you know, which, you know, I talked to EV West and they really didn't have a lot of great things to say about the Tesla subframe. So that seems to be a very popular thing to do, is just to take a drive unit in the subframe and shove that up underneath the car and bolt it in somewhere. And it's not terribly easy, but the frames aren't great. They're seeing cracked frames and stuff like that. You know, I mean, they're just aluminum. And so this is definitely more sturdy. It retains the stock suspension and mostly geometry. And it will also hold weight as a pickup truck. You know, so this beam will support you know, anything that's put in the bed or whatever. So I should be able to still carry, you know, 1,000 pounds of junk in the bed, because I probably added, you know, at least 500 pounds to the overall vehicle weight.
two max. You have double bearings or one bearing? What's the, what do you use it for a wheel bearing?
Yeah, you're asking the hard questions, aren't you? What am I doing for the wheel bearing? Well, this wheel bearing is a factory sealed wheel bearing. So this is what is normally on the front, and I'm also putting the same ones on the rear. So, and that's just to keep it within the same wheelhouse of Nissan. I said wheelhouse. I don't know what's in that guy. Yeah. I mean, it's the factory bearing, so it's a sealed bearing, and they're cheap. So you just buy one and throw it on. Any more questions? The battery is out of a Tesla Model 3. It's the large pack, which is 78 kilowatt hours. It was a lot of work. That's what I did last year, or the beginning, like January of this year. Like I bought a battery, I took it all apart, I reconfigured it, and I shoved it up under there. It's going okay. All right.
Great stuff. More
Thank you.
questions from anybody? Welcome to ask questions. All right, John, thanks so much. Yeah. Okay. So I see that Robert posted in the chat here, if anyone is working a conversion, I have a large amount of conversion books. Email me. There's his email. So there's a source of some books. And I know that over time, different books have been published with ideas of conversions. And as Laurent said, the things have really changed a lot over the decades, and capabilities that you can put in a conversion can be much better now than what they were in the early days. So making a more practical vehicle. So any other questions or comments folks have? It's always great to hear about projects. Of course, a large number of members have modern OEM built EVs. And as Laurent said, there's people that have both homebrew and also a modern EV in their garage. Yeah. If you'd like to grab the microphone, then. Oh, well, this is for the folks on.
Well, I saw in there where it was talking about, the future of EVs and what's going to maintain it, the EV market, because there's so many people now that are buying. I think it's over abundance of EVs that are being built right now, but the charging situation is still not there. And it's not. I don't think it's getting any better, because I run into charging stations that don't work or don't or have not worked in a long time. Blink. It's like always broke.
Right.
And it's, if it's going to be a future of EV, that's going to be that's going to be the answer, is having reliability on the charging aspect of things.
Yeah.
The BP and the Shell stations, it's great if you stay out in Katy or in that area. And most of these charging stations now, the big ones like that, are outside the loop, and it's nothing really that's sustainable inside the loop, except the one on Yale, which is the Walmart, which is always packed for the most part. But it's a lot of, super packed.
So you've seen that used a lot. Okay. Well, a lot of people do say that Europe and China are way ahead of the US on building public charging stations. One of the differences in a lot of those places is that people don't have standalone houses like a lot of folks in the US do. So people do their charging at their house, which has retarded the development of public charging. Now, of course, a lot more folks in the US that do live in apartments and condos and so forth are interested in getting EVs, and they're dependent for their local driving. Exactly as you say.
You can buy them at a cheaper rate, but I think the whole aspect of the Buc-ee's situation with the adapter, that's going to revolutionize the whole aspect of pressure on these other companies to up the game, so to speak, because people are going to be able to use not just in the few that they have right now, but when they start advancing them to their supercharging stations all over Houston, a lot less people are going to be using those at the Walmart or the other ones that people know right now.
Right.
And that's going to be just a game changer.
Yeah. And we're going to have to see if other things might change the game. I've been reading some things about under vehicle wireless charging, and there's been developments that have made that just as efficient as connecting a copper cable to a car. And a lot of people say once that technology gets standardized, every restaurant, every shopping mall, every store that has parking will have that in a number of parking places, and it'll just kind of become transparent that you go places and you're just charging your car all the time. Now, of course, that's going to take some technology development and implementation, but
I think Rich has seen,
yeah, please.
Rich has seen a lot of problems with charging.
Okay.
And he is, because he can't get level 2 charging at home. That's where we're all used to that. I would bet every single one of us has that here. He does not, and going to work at the airport, right? Yeah, is not there's plenty of parking for, if you're gonna park there and get on an airplane. If you're an employee, not so much. Yeah, he is, a walking example of, somebody who's been left out of this. And you keep asking for, an answer. I don't have an answer. Time is your only hope. I can only tell you, it's doubled in 10 years or something like that, but.
Well, I was just gonna add, I work for an engineering firm, and so we deal with a lot of EV all across the US. And yeah, it's definitely right now we're focused on 13 different states that are requiring it at the state level
Mhm.
or, high density city levels.
Mhm.
But California is making it happen. Like next year, you're gonna get penalized as a business. Even our own fleet, we're going through electrification on
Uh-huh, uh-huh.
all of our office and fleet
Nice.
in that range.
Yeah.
But no, it's coming. I mean, I don't think it's just gonna continue to grow.
You were an early adopter and you were
Yeah.
very brave. Yeah. I mean, you drove to Dallas and you bought an EV, was it Kona? A 2020 Kona Electric. 2022 Kona Electric. You've never driven an EV before? This is brave. Yeah. And then you've got a story to tell about getting home, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Oh, do you want me to tell? the
Yeah,
story?
by all means,
I thought
yeah.
that story has been told already. I didn't know that, I didn't know that there was different adapters for EVs. I thought everything was the same. And I drove from Dallas, North Dallas, all the way down. I passed a bunch of charging stations. I said, I kept going. I didn't even know about plug share or anything, which plug share doesn't really work all the time, but I still didn't know where to charge. And so I was just, if I get to Madisonville, it's a Buc-ee's. I can charge there, Well, I got all the way to Madisonville and it was, I found out that there's only Tesla chargers and Tesla chargers don't work on a Hyundai.
Mhm.
So luckily enough, I called my friend and he answered the phone at 1 o'clock in the morning. I was shocked. He said, "No, don't worry. It's okay. Just make it across the bridge and it's a Walmart." So I made it across the bridge, went up the hill, and it stopped. And I didn't know that it's two batteries, not one. And it was cold, so I was using the 12-volt battery to keep the car warm. I burned out that 12-volt battery, so I called a tow truck. And I didn't know that you had to put it in. The 12-volt battery has to be charged to put it in neutral. I learned so much that night. I didn't know the 12-volt battery has to be charged to start to charge itself at a charging station.
Yeah.
And so I didn't know any of this getting into the EV deal. I learned a lot just that first night. And I don't think that dealerships, the people that sell EVs, really educated. It's only just a couple of dealerships in Houston that maybe know.
Mhm.
But for the most part, most dealerships don't even know where to charge an EV. I've seen where the EV charge stations are filled up with cars, and you ask them, "Can you park there?" And they're like, "No, we got our cars here." And so I think it starts right there with educating people about how to operate an EV or even knowing about what the difference is in the EV.
Mhm.
But like I said before, that Buc-ee's adapter is going to change a lot of people and breaking down, so to speak. And I broke down again on
Yeah.
Saturday.
Oh,
Yeah, well, I didn't know about the adapter at the Buc-ee's, so I kept going and I went to the one place a little outside of Bastrop, and both the charging stations and the Ford dealership charger was broke and maintenance. And so I had to go ahead and call AAA again. And AAA towed me into Austin, and I had to get I had to get a jumper because my jumper didn't, because I carry a jumper now in the car just in case, but that one wasn't working. So I had to get a lift to take me to the auto parts store to get another jumper to come and jump the 12-volt battery to get the thing to charge. So that was a nightmare. And I found out on the way back that the Buc-ee's actually worked. So,
Okay.
and that's a big thing. Yes, I did use the Buc-ee's with the adapter. Yes. Yeah, I do now. Yeah, you have to. Yeah, but it's no adapter needed. No, when you go up to the they'll tell you what station to go to. And you go to that station and you take it out, you push it in and bring it back out, and it has the adapter already in it. And then you just plug it in.
Good.
And when you finish charging, you just stick it back in. So yeah. Right.
Okay, so
Right. No, but the majority of them are having the larger stations. In the Houston area, yeah, I think the only one is, I think it's the one in Waller, and the one in Katie's supposed to get it.
okay, that's
And,
something
it's-
new. I hadn't heard that the Magic Dock was anywhere around here. I thought it was just like on the East Coast somewhere.
No, it's, they have the one, the Buc-ee's
Oh,
in,
around Houston.
the Buc-ee's in Bastrop has it.
Okay, good.
The one on 290. Yeah, but you can go to the Tesla app and it tells you where exactly
Ah,
right,
Yeah.
right. And that makes all the difference in the world,
Yeah.
But as soon as they start putting them in a lot of other locations inside the loop,
Mhm.
that's gonna help out a lot of people.
Oh,
you
yeah.
know.
Oh, yeah.
And I run into people all the time. I give out the card and say, hey, go to the Facebook page, because so many people have the EVs now,
Mhm.
but don't know
Mhm.
how to use it or where to go. Only place they know to go charge is the Walmart.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, so Houston Airport employees, Shelton says.
Similar to the EVA, in the parking lot, you're gonna have so many specialty spots for handicap, same kind of thing. You've got 1,000 employees showing up, you need to have X number of charging stations for them to use.
I talked to him about that, and even one of the EV spots is connected to the handicap.
Right.
So how do and all the other ones are people that are just parked there. They have a Tesla, but they're going out of town. They want to be close to the elevator. They just park there and leave the car for like 3 or 4 days. And so you have that problem too. I don't really know how to fix that problem, but
Well, I mean, they have to enforce the owner, whatever vicinity has to enforce
You can't leave there over the weekend.
that takes an initiative of the people that work there. Oh, well, yeah, that too, and, but I had another problem with talking about the airport. I parked at one of the Echo lots and somebody just unplugged my car. And so you have that problem.
They can unlock it.
They somehow unplugged my car and plugged it into something. I don't know.
My daughter's phone, they can lock it.
Right,
Lock it.
right.
But somehow they got.
I never locked my car, so that might be the problem there. Oh, really? Oh, I didn't know that. But it still takes the airport people, in the city, enough initiative to do that.
My employer just recently started doing it, just within the last year. They've got on our campus, 2 or 3 spots over here and 2 or 3 spots over there. It's enough. It's not a lot, but
It's a start. I don't know if anybody's seen the city of Houston. When you go downtown to City Hall, they got a huge spots of charging spots, but they don't. Yeah, it's an annex, but none of those cars are being used. All are EVs. and they're all just sitting there. And I asked the guy, like, are you using these cars? Can the public use these chargers? And they're like, nope, that's for the city. And they're spending a bunch of money for these cars just to sit there.
Some of us be out. They want to look good. And they want us to be out.
Is that what they're trying to do?
Well, there's also rules about giving things away. Yeah. So you just can't give electricity away.
Hmm.
Like, okay.
I haven't talked.
They're using charge point.
Mhm.
You still have to have an account, you still have to pay the bill.
Mhm.
That can go in any place that you've got enough utility power to run a couple of those things. And it doesn't have to be a supercharger, you're gonna be there for 8 or 9 hours. Charge that thing and have more than enough to pop it up.
It's just, for me, it's just upsetting when you have like the companies Blink and I forgot the other ones they have. ChargePoint always, no problem with ChargePoint. But the other EV Go, it's kind of a iffy. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. But for the most part, a lot of them don't work. The ones at the parks, Sherman Park, doesn't work. You know, Memorial Park, none of them work. You know, and you call the company and ask them like, "Hey, when is this going to be fixed?" And they say it's on a waiting list. So, until more pressure is being put on these companies that put these things out, and it's none. I live in 3rd Ward, and there's no charging spots unless you go to Herman Park. Let's talk about the future of, if you want the future of EV to grow, that's when it's going to have to change.
Well, that's a great question, a great point you're making there. Here's how we fix that charger thing. My name's Robert, if anybody, I'm on the phone, if anybody can hear me, but I have suggested some technology. This is a field that I am really wanting to be involved in, and I've been seeking employment and talking to companies, but it's kind of difficult. But some of the things that I've talked to some of these companies about is, one, when you talk about the people who just leave their car parked and they're gone for 3 days, that is frustrating as heck. My wife works at the airport and she gets to park in an employee parking lot. And these pilots or people or flight attendants, all of them, they leave the car, they go on a 4-day trip, they leave the car. And you know, so now they're struggling for parking spaces out in her employee parking lot. So I have, since I've been seeking employment for these apps like this, telling them, okay, if the car stays on the charger after it's been notified for 3 or 4 hours, start to charge them a penalty. That'll get them to move, or that'll create some problem. And then even more strategic, and this is a real strong one, and that is to start to drain the battery. You know, it's still plugged up. Start to drain the battery. If they've left the car parked like that, that's the penalty. There's got to be some repercussions for doing that. And I was going to ask this question when I came in person, but I'll ask it now. And I think I know the answer, and that is, I wonder how many people that are members of this organization actually work in the charging field, the EV charging sector. You know, I'm curious. I wanted to know that for networking purposes. But yeah, this is a real effort for me. And as I talk to, you know, Titanium, that's one of the major companies that build chargers, DC fast chargers. But it's not on them. It's on those companies that manage the software, that you've got to do some incentive to get the person who's hogging up the charger to move their car. And just notifying them that the car is finished is not enough now. Got to be more to it. I'd like to know what people think about that.
Tesla network does charge idle fees, and they even particularly look at when a particular location is a busy location. So that kind of thing's there. So Kathy?
I was only going to ask if anybody's valeted at the airport recently. Has anybody used a valet service there? Because to me, that seems like the best solution is to have the valet connected to that so they could move the car once charged or know when the person's coming back, have it charged for them when they return.
I've seen articles about that. I don't know where it's implemented, if
Yeah.
anywhere, but I've seen that idea because, yeah, people typically take trips for multiple days. I mean, some do a
Yeah.
single day trip, but a lot of people fly out and to block up a spot for charging cars for multiple days is obviously disadvantageous to everybody else. And having a valet be able to move the car out, like you say, just get it charged
Yeah.
before the person flies back in.
I mean,
I was just gonna say that,
Yeah.
that valet, the valet only parks the car downstairs. It doesn't park it in the EV spot. And
No,
I don't
there would
think
have to be a
people-
special arrangement.
Right,
Exactly.
right. And you would have to tell them that.
Right.
And most of them, and the people I've talked to that, because it's not the airport, it's not the city people that run it, it's a private company that runs it.
Yeah.
And
And
my
I-
conversation with them is they don't have no idea about EVs at all.
Right. The situation I've seen out in the Phoenix area, there's a private parking garage, 3 stories high, and there's like 10 or 12 spaces on the ground floor that have 120-volt outlets. So people have to bring their own charging equipment, but they specifically reserve one of those 12 spots for however many days they fly out for. But being slow charging and being gone for a couple of days, then of course you expect your car is going to be charged, but it's very limited. But of course, I think they're looking at being a private parking garage, supply and demand. They can always wire up more parking spaces if they find that they're always being reserved.
Well, here's the thing that'll really play a role in this is once people understand that there's revenue generating opportunities.
Yep.
When you get that car off of there, you can get another car on there because, I mean, you're holding up money. And that will drive people to make some leaders of these companies to make some decisions about, we got to move on to the next car. You know, we have to move on to the next car. So it's definitely a discussion point. And me, as I've talked to these they call them service SaaS companies, as I talk with these companies about job opportunities and things like that, this is definitely a conversation that I bring because it's frustrating to me because of my wife's scenario. And this is an employee parking lot that I have to deal with this, or she has to deal with this. So.
Yeah, an employee parking lot, I have not seen, I only can speak for Terminal A. I have not seen any, in the employee lot, I have not seen any EV charging stations at all. And I think that's for United also.
Oh, no, here's what United did. They have the blink ones, like you said, which didn't work up front. They had about 6 or 7 at the very front of the parking lot. But United, although the city of Houston owns the United parking lot, they do nothing with it. It's managed by a third-party company. And that third-party people, they don't do anything in the parking lot. So United came in and they took poles and they converted the poles and they put an electrical outlet on them, which is good for the employees because they don't pay for the parking. And it's all right if you bring your charger and you do the trickle charge and you're gone for 3 or 4 days and you leave the car, that's fine. But they didn't do it with enough of them now. So that's kind of the problem. They did maybe 30% of the poles. And now when I go in that parking lot with my wife, I see so many electric cars, Teslas, everything is parked in the United parking lot. And the poles are all taken. So she's right back at the same spot, not being able to charge her car when she goes off on a trip. So I brought all of that up to say, yeah, that's a problem with the infrastructure. And we've got to just keep talking through the infrastructure to move this needle. And people have got to start to do things different. And United took a huge step by converting all of those poles and putting electrical outlets on them. But they need to do more now.
Yeah.
Well,
I'm kind of happy to hear that they're all filled up, but exactly, you're right. They need to add more because there was a sad story. I saw several houses away, a plug-in hybrid being driven by a neighbor. I hadn't really talked to him before. He's far enough away. I went over and talked to him. He said it was a company car And he said he never plugged it in. He only ran it on gas because he gets reimbursed
wow.
for gas as a company car. He wouldn't get reimbursed for his household electricity that would charge the car. So he would be
Wow.
using on that. And so he had a car that was capable of being charged, but it was never charged. And so that's why I say that I'm kind of happy that all these pole mounted outlets are full, that people are buying the cars and actually charging them. Obviously, you know, when you get a chicken and egg situation, you get more demand. Hopefully the more supply will follow. Yeah, obviously, yeah, write letters, whatever it takes to get them to add more.
I haven't talked to the mayor about it at all, but has anybody heard the mayor's concerns or had him speak on EV or any type of EV options at all?
Well, I
energy?
talked to the former mayor, Sylvester Turner. He had an organization that was very focused on it. I even had contacts and people that I connected with, and they were very, very focused on rollout and grow and, you know, participating in this process. And, you know, I even got connected with some of the regional municipalities who really are also looking to grow. But man, it's a tough hole unless you have initiatives like up north in Dallas. They have the Clean City initiatives, and they have a group of people that's really driving electrification, the transportation electrification part of what's happening in North Dallas. And it's really just North Dallas where it's occurring. And, you know, you run into people that, you know, struggle like the struggles that you had coming from Dallas. And, but it's funny that here we are, man, 15 years later, and we're still having the very same conversation
Yeah,
about
things always
this.
go slower than we want, but I did hear a news report that a couple of routes of the Houston buses are going to get electrified buses. And so that's a step in that direction to, of course, get more electric vehicles on the road, in this case, city buses. So
Is the city organization you're referring to, is that Evolve?
No,
No.
that's not Evolve. I do know the Evolve group that was here. They are totally separate, although they work with the Turner administration. I'm sure they're working with the Whitmire administration as well, because it's a big thing. I mean, and there is big money in it. So
That Evolve is funded by the city and Centerpoint and Reliant, I believe. Yes,
okay, I
that's
didn't know
where their
that.
money's coming from.
yeah, and
Okay.
originally it was Evolve that had contacted me about the Houston Botanic Garden event, and then they said they
Right.
had to back out. So now we're dealing directly with the.
But they're doing very interesting things with grants. So that they set up an EV network in what was it, the fourth ward? And so you can call them up and get a ride and in a little EV for free that gets you to the bus or the grocery store, wherever.
Oh, to connect
in
from
areas
charging
where
locations.
there's no transportation.
Yeah.
And they
Well,
need
good.
something in between buses and so that somebody set that up and it's being continuously funded, but there's like 3 or 4 organizations that are, it's worth looking into.
Okay.
Just 2 questions real quick. Can I give you an update on the charging station downtown, and also when you talk about charging, as you know, Uber and Lyft are using making their drivers rent electric vehicles to do the share rides, and that kind of fills up charging spots also. But,
Sure. Mhm.
No,
Yeah, supply and demand, we hope both grow. Obviously, to get them to grow in tandem is kind of difficult, but sometimes one is going to get ahead, sometimes the other is going to get ahead, I'm thinking.
But this is an update on the downtown charging station, and will that be for all cars or what?
So.
Well,
Okay.
come 2025, all charging stations will have the NACS plug. So, you know, everybody will be using that one. at that time. So that's going to be a big shift that's going to come for people as well.
Yeah, I'm happy to hear that we're going to be standardizing, because I can imagine, here we have a projector in the room. If it had a different plug than what the wall outlet was, it's like, oh, we can't run our projector for our meeting tonight because it won't plug in the wall. Obviously, that would be kind of disastrous for having a club meeting like this. And so, yeah, getting to that one North American standard, we're not there yet, but, companies have all pledged to build their cars next year, starting to use that. So I'm glad to hear that Magic Dock is around in the Houston area, because as I said, I only thought that was in other places. And so we're going to move forward with fits and starts.
The Houston organization chapter is 35 years old. Is that right? Or 35 plus? I mean, that's the number that I hear sometimes. So
Well, I've been a member since 1994, and the organization was existed long before I
it's
joined it.
easy to remember that, for most of us, or for a lot of us, conversions were the only EVs there were.
Right. Mhm.
And that, it's changing very rapidly, but you got to remember, it's been 35 plus years.
Yep.
It's going to take a while to make this transition.
Yep. No, I remember when I had that Dodge Omni, I had to ask the eye doctor if I could plug in outside the office there, because it didn't have much of a range, and I needed to get home again. And that was fine. I had to wait a while. It was just a regular 120 outlet, but he said that was fine to use that outlet. So that was that back in 94, 95. Yeah. So,
I don't know if it was on the Facebook page, but when I was asking, I was kind of complaining about the use of charging stations, and somebody mentioned that when the combustible engine, when gasoline cars first were put in place, there were no gas stations.
no,
You had
people used to
use-
buy a tin of gasoline. They would go to a drugstore, in the same way that you could get, mineral oil to put on your skin, or, something like that. You would go and it would be canned, like a can of soup. You'd have a can of gasoline, and you'd go buy it at a store that would. Yeah, or kerosene from a hardware store. Yeah, so yeah, gasoline wasn't available in the early days for cars, and it was a supply demand thing. And of course, now the supply is all over the world. But, all right, I think it's time to wrap up. Really appreciate all the interaction with everybody, folks in the room, folks online, and everything. Thanks, John, for all your explanations. Thanks, Sheldon, for bringing the bug-eyed Sprite. That's fun. And thanks, Colin, for bringing the Cybertruck. Yeah, so yeah, everybody go out and look at both the bug-eyed Sprite and the Cybertruck. So we'll be here again at TXRX next month on the second Thursday. And so we're working on one or two speakers for that. And so stay tuned, watch your emails. But it's great interaction tonight, so I appreciate it. And Laurent, thanks for all the information that you gave us about how you're connecting people up, people who want to do conversions with capabilities and information. So, all right, we'll see everybody next month. Thanks.